All right, so we had two summatives that we went over. There was summative A and summative B. So if you look at the top of your summative, you can see which summative you have. I'm going to use polynomial summative A, but as I am doing it, I will tell you what number it is on the other summative. So if you have polynomial summative A, you're going to be on this problem with me. If you have polynomial summative B, you're going to be on number 8. So number 1 here on polynomial summative A says factor the polynomial completely. So our polynomial is 4w squared minus 52w minus 120. So whenever you have a polynomial like this, the first thing you always have to do is identify your A, B, and C. Your A in this case is going to be 4. That's in front of w squared. Your B is going to be negative 52. And your C is going to be negative 120. So what you do here is you're going to look, do I have an A that is bigger than 1? If I do, then I'm going to look for a GCF. In this case, I've got 4, negative 52, and negative 120, and I know that 4 is divisible by all of those. So I'm going to go ahead and divide all 3 of those by 4 and take it out of this. So when you take your 4 out, you're going to put it out front of your parentheses, and you're going to divide everything by 4. And then you're going to put your new trinomial in here. So 4w squared divided by 4 is simply going to be w squared. Negative 52 divided by 4 is going to be negative 13w. So you can put that like that. Negative 120 divided by 4 is going to be negative 30. So now you have your GCF found, and you have taken it out of your trinomial here. So these are the same. Now you're not going to want to distribute that back in there. You're going to want to factor this like normal. So we have found our A, B, and C original. We also have found our greatest common factor and taken it out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to factor this like normal. So we have to identify our A, which is 1, our B, which is negative 13, and our C, which is negative 30. So what you're going to do at this point is you're going to factor like you normally would. So when A was bigger than 1, you look for a GCF. If A is, after you found your GCF, if A is bigger than 1, then you have to multiply A times C and use that as your new C, but in this case it is not. So what you're going to do is multiply 1 times negative 30 and find the factors of negative 30. Now we're going to go through all our factors of negative 30. We're going to find the ones that add to B, which is negative 13. So we're going to go through first. We're going to have 1 and negative 30, which is negative 29, so that does not work. Then you go to negative 1 and positive 30, which is going to be positive 29. That does not work. Next would be 2 and negative 15, which gives you
13.
Negative 13, which is what we want. So we're going to take these two guys over here, our 2 factors that we found, and we're going to make our 2 binomials. So if you look, your variable up here is w, so you want to make sure that in your binomials you have your w plus 2 and w minus 15. Now, if you look at this, you did have a GCF out earlier. Now, what a lot of kids want to do is they want to take that GCF and divide it in here. You do not do that unless after your GCF, your A is bigger than 1, which it is not. So what you do is take your GCF from earlier. You're going to bring him out front, put him right there. You have officially factored out. You found your GCF, and you've made your 2 binomials. That's how you do number 1. If you need to copy that down, go ahead and pause it. All right.
Monday.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and do number 2 next. Number 2, and if you're on summative A, it's number 2. If you're on summative B, it is number 10. So this question says, if a rectangle has a length of 2x squared plus 3x minus 6 and a width of 3x squared plus 7, what is the perimeter? Well, a lot of kids got this mixed up. Perimeter is where you add all sides. So in this case, I have a rectangle which has 4 sides. I have 2 lengths and 2 widths. So you have 2 options. You can either take both of these and multiply them both by 2 and add them. You can add all of them at the same time. What I like to do is add them each. So I'm going to add all of them. Whenever you substitute values, you always put them in parentheses. So I've added my first length. Now I'm going to add that to my width. Now I've added my length and my width. Now I'm going to add my length again because I have two of those. And then I'm going to add my width one more time. Now at this point, what you have here is your length and your width, and your length and your width. You have that both 2 times. So what you can do is find all your like terms and combine them. Now you are adding them, so you are not going to change any signs or do anything along those lines. So you're going to look for your like terms. What I always like to say is look for your biggest exponent first, which in this case is going to be 2. And you're going to add those like terms. So we got 2x squared, we got 3x squared, we got 2x squared, and 3x squared. Whenever you add, you do not change that exponent, you simply add the coefficients. So in this case, we've got 2 plus 3, which is 5, plus 2, which is 7, plus 3, which is 10. So you're going to have 10x squared. Now we're going to find our star x's. We got 3x here. I do not have any here. I have a 3x here. So I'm going to put those together and get my 6x. I've got negative 6 plus 7, which is 1. I have negative 6 plus 7, which is another 1, which gives you a positive 2. All right, so that is your perimeter of your rectangle. Alrighty, we're going to go on to number 3 here. Number 3 is name the type of polynomial, state the degree, and the box next to the polynomial and the type of polynomial. So degree is based on your exponents. So you look through all these and get your exponent. If you do not have an exponent on a variable, it is 1. If you do not have a variable, it is a constant. So we're going to go ahead and label all these for you. Now if you look, the degree is going to be a 2, so we know 2 stands for quadratic. Don't get quartic and quadratic mixed up. Quartic is an exponent of 4. Type of polynomial, there are 2 terms, so that's going to be a quadratic binomial. Remember, bicycle, 2 wheels, binomial, 2 terms. This does not have a variable, and there's only 1 term here. So when it does not have a variable, that's going to be a constant and a constant monomial. So also this is number 9 on summative B, just in case you're on that one. So we got a constant monomial for that one. This one we've got a cubic, 1, 2, 3 terms, cubic trinomial. Last one here, we've got an exponent of 1. That's going to be linear when there's only 1 exponent, and there is 1 term, so that's a linear monomial. Mono means single. If you have a mono, e-mono, that's 1 versus 1. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go to number 4. So number 4 is number 7 on the other summative there. So it's either number 4 or 7. It says if the side length of a square could be given with the expression 2x plus 5, what expression could represent its area? So what you have to do for this is you've got to find area. Area is length times width. Now we know something cool about squares is that all the sides are the same. So if one side is 2x plus 5, that means all the sides are 2x plus 5. So I'm going to do a length times a width. I'm going to multiply these 2 guys here. Now what you're going to do for that is you're going to multiply them times each other. So in essence, you are squaring them. So 2x plus 5 squared because you are multiplying it by itself. Now another way to write this that might make it easier is 2x plus 5 times 2x plus 5. That way if you see it like this, you will remember that you can FOIL it. FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last. So what that means, you multiply your first terms. Now when you multiply, you are going to multiply the coefficients and add the exponents. So in this case, 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is going to be x squared. Now we're going to multiply our outer terms, 2x and 5, which is going to be positive 10x. You're going to multiply those inner terms, which is going to be a positive 10x. Then you're going to multiply those last terms, and you're going to get a positive 25. Be careful to multiply them all, not add them. After you get done doing that foiling, you're going to go ahead and see what like terms you can combine. The only ones you can combine have the same variable and exponent, which would be these two guys here. If I have 10 x's and 10 more x's, that would be 20 x's, and you bring down everything else. And that is your answer. It's a quadratic binomial, just in case, or trinomial, excuse me. All right, let's go ahead and go to number 5 here. Number 5 is a binomial times a trinomial, similar to a foiling concept, but not exactly. What you're going to do is take the first term in this binomial and multiply it by all 3 terms in your trinomial. Then you take your second term and multiply it by all 3 terms in your trinomial, and then you combine like terms. So what we're going to go ahead and do is put m times m squared. Now, it might help you to put a 1 there in front of your, after your m for your exponent. Also might help you to put a 1 here for this exponent as well. M to the first times m squared is simply going to be m to the third, or m cubed. Then you're going to take m times negative 2m to the first. Well, there's no number in front of m here, so you can take your 1 if you want. 1 times negative 2 is simply negative 2. M times m is m squared. Next, you're going to take m times 2, which is a positive 2m. Now you need to take your second term, which is 3, and multiply by all 3 terms there. So 3 times m squared is 3m squared. 3 times negative 2m is going to be negative 6m. 3 times 2 is going to be positive 6. Now we're going to go ahead and want to combine like terms. Like terms have those same exponents, and if you look at this one and this one have the same exponent, this one and this one have the same exponent. However, they do have to be in standard forms. Standard forms means you find your biggest exponent first, and you move from there. So our biggest exponent in this case is m cubed, so we're going to write that. Now we're going to combine negative 2m squared and 3m squared. Negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1, or just positive m squared in this case. We have 2m and negative 6m, which is going to be negative 4m. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. Then you're going to bring that positive 6 down. Then you've got m cubed plus m squared minus 4m plus 6, which is answer letter A. Now we're going to move on to number 6. Number 6 was the same as number 3 on the other summative. This says factor the expression completely. So the first thing we need to look for is if we have a GCF. Well, we look here and we do not have a GCF because this is 1, 1, and negative 6. Next, you're going to label your A, which is 1. Your right there. Your B, which is 1. And your C, which is negative 6. Well, since A is 1, I don't have to multiply by C and divide it later. I'm just going to multiply 1 times negative 6 and just get negative 6. I'm going to go through my factors of negative 6 that add to be a positive 1. So we're going to start with our simple 1, which is 1 and negative 6. 1 and negative 6 add to be negative 5. That does not work because I need them to add to be a positive 1. Negative 1 and positive 6 is going to turn into a positive 5. That does not add to be 1. We're going to go to 2 and negative 3. 2 and negative 3 add to be negative 1, so that doesn't work. We're very, very close though. Negative 2 and positive 3 is going to be a positive 1. So these are the two guys we want because they add to be 1. You're going to take these two guys, put them in your binomial, which is actually going to be y minus 2. I want to put those x's just like you guys. And y plus 3. We are done because if you were to divide these both by 1, you would get the same answer as we currently have, so nothing will change there. All right, let's go ahead and flip that over. We're going to go to that next page. This is number 7 on summative A and number 1 on summative B. It says put a check mark next to the terms that are part of the solution. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and make a solution for this. So when we are adding, we don't have to change any signs over here. That's only when that's negative. Then you change them to positive and flip all the signs. Being that's positive, we're just going to add like terms. So what I do is I always look for my biggest exponent first. In this case, it is a 3. And if you look over in here, I have nothing to combine that with. So I simply bring that guy down. So that's 8x cubed. Now I'm going to look for my x squareds. I have 2x squared and 3x squared, which is going to be positive 5x squared. So I've used my squares. Now I've got negative 6x and 3x, which if you put negative 6 and positive 3 together, you get negative 3x. Next, you're going to have a positive 2 and a negative 3. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Now it says put a check mark next to the terms that are part of the solution. So I'm going to look, do I have 8x cubed down here? I do, so I'm going to put a check mark next to that. Do I have 5x squared? I do. I'm going to put a check mark next to that. Do I have negative 3x? I do not, so there's no check mark for that. And I do have a negative 1, so I'm going to put a check mark for that. You only put a check mark next to the terms that exist. If it's not there, don't put a check mark next to it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to that next one there. This is number 8 on summative A and number 4 on summative B. It says if the area of a rectangle can be represented by x squared plus 4x minus 60, which two expressions could represent its length and width? Well, there's two ways to do this. A, you could multiply each one and see which one works and sit there for 20 minutes and do that, or you can simply factor this guy and get your two answers. So we're going to go ahead and factor it and do that because that's quicker. So I'm going to rewrite my problem over here, which is x squared plus 4x minus 60. Now, if you look at this, your A is 1, your B is 4, and your C is negative 60. So, since A is 1, we're simply going to find the factors of negative 60 that add to be 4. So I'm going to go through those. Let's see. So negative 60. Now, if you do look over at your answers, I don't have a 1. I don't have a 2. The lowest number I have here is a 5. So that's what I'm going to start with because I don't need to do 1, 2, 3, or 4 because they don't exist over here, so there's no reason to do that. So I'm going to start with 4. 4 times what is 60? Well, 4 times 15 is 60, so we would have 4 and negative 15. Well, that does not add to be 4, so that will not work. So we will do negative 4 and positive 15. 4 and negative 15 is negative 11, by the way. So for negative 4 plus 15 is going to be positive 11, so that doesn't work either. I didn't need to do 4, though, because it's not even over here. All right, so let's go to 5. 5 times 12, well, it would be negative 12 in this case. 5 and negative 12. Well, 5 and negative 12 adds to be negative 7. Well, we don't want negative 7, we want a positive 4. So let's try negative 5 and positive 12. Well, that's going to be a positive 7. Again, that does not work. Let's see, what would be next? 6 and negative 10. 6 times negative 10 is negative 60. That is negative 4 when you add them together. We want it to be a positive 4, though, so that does not work. So our answer would be negative 6 and positive 10, which gives you a positive 4. That would be your two binomials, which if you look over here, we have x minus 6 here and x plus 10 here. So that is how you get your two binomials. And like I said, you could have multiplied this by all 3 of them to see which one works by foiling it if you wanted to do that. All right, number 5. Number 5 on summative B and number 9 on summative A. Now, they want this in standard form. Standard form means that it has to be biggest exponent, smallest exponent, and also alphabetical order. So if you look, the only letter we have here is x, so obviously that's not going to apply, but the biggest exponent first would. So now look, I got 3, 2, 4, there's a 1 here. So the biggest exponent first is going to be 5x to the 4th. Now I would need to check if I can combine anything, which I can't in this case. Next is going to be the 3, that's a positive, so positive 8x cubed. Next is going to be squared, so that's going to be minus 7x squared. Next after that would be 10x to the first, or just 10x, and then you're going to bring down your negative 8. Now that is in standard form. If you wanted to classify that, that would be a quartic polynomial, because there's more than 4 terms. All right, let's go and flip over to number 10. Number 10 on the back is the same as number 2 on the other summative. So they gave us an expression of 4x squared minus 64. If factored correctly, if one of the answers is 2x plus 8, the other answer is what? Well, this is a special case because we are missing our b. We don't have a b in here. So if you look, you've got 4x squared minus 64. A in this case is 4, b in this case is 0, and c in this case is negative 64. So there's a pretty simple method when you're missing b. You're simply going to create two binomials. And all you do is your variable is x, so you need to find out what two perfect numbers, perfect square, will multiply to give you positive 4. Well, what times what equals 4? That's obviously 2. So down here you're going to have 2x and 2x. This is a little bit different because it's a negative, so you know to get a negative here, I'm going to have a negative and a positive. So you could have a positive here and a negative here, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. And what two numbers multiply to give you 64 that are the same, and that's going to be 8 and 8. This is how you simplify a special case when it's missing b, when b is 0 in this case, not missing, but it's 0. And it says one of the answers is 2x plus 8. What is the other answer? Well, that's going to be 2x minus 8. So that's how simple that was there. You just had to place that other answer right up there, and you would have been good to go. Just remember, one's positive, one's negative usually. Pretty easy. All right, let's go on to number 11. Number 11 here is going to say factor completely. Now, if you look here, this is number 6 on the other summative, summative B, I believe. So you're going to go ahead and check. Do I have a GCF? 2, 11, and 5. Well, if you look at 2, 11, and 5, there's not a number that goes in all three of those, so we're simply going to write our A, B, and C. A in this case is 2, B in this case is 11, C in this case is 5. This is going to be a full and complete 6-step factoring, so we're going to go through all our steps. So we checked for GCF, it does not exist. Next, you're going to multiply A times C, 2 times 5, which is 10. That's going to replace your original C here, and you're going to lose that original A. So what you're going to have now is x squared plus 11x plus 5, or excuse me, plus 10. So what you're going to do here is you're going to have your new A, B, and C. A is going to be 1, B is going to be 11, and C is going to be 10. So now that we have A is 1, we're going to find out what C multiplies to be 10, what two factors multiply to be 10, and what two factors multiply to be, or add to be 11. So what we're going to do is take a 10 over here, and we're going to start with 1 and 10. Well, 1 and 10 multiply to be 10. 1 plus 10 is 11. So you have your two numbers that multiply to be 10 that add to be 11. So you're going to put those down here, x plus 1 and x plus 10. Now what you need to do, that last step is going to take that original A, which was 2. You're going to divide him by both of these here. You can divide by 2 here and here. Now if they divide evenly, you're good to go. If they do not, you move that denominator out front. 1 divided by 2 does not divide evenly, so you're going to simply move them out front. So that's going to leave you with 2x plus 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5, so that's going to turn to x plus 5. And then you are done. Then you have factored completely. That is the end of factoring there. All right, guys, our last two. These are basic equations. So you just got to follow the 5 steps for equations. You look for distribution, combining like terms, variables on both sides, you move the smaller one, add or subtract the constant, and then multiply or divide the coefficient. So we're going to go through these and check what we have. If you look at this one right here, number 12, we do have distribution, so you need to distribute that too. This is a basic equation. Basically, you're looking for x. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. That's going to equal 10. We are going to now check if we have combining like terms. If you look on that side, there's nothing. If you look on that side, there's nothing. Next, you're going to check for variables on both sides, which we do not have. After that, you're going to add or subtract the constant. You do that on the side with the variable. So the constant here is negative 8. So we're going to add 8 to both sides. 10 plus 8 is 18. So we got 2x divided by 2. X equals 9. Okay, so that was simply that. If you substituted 9 back into the original equation, 9 minus 4 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. So that does work. All right, let's go ahead and switch over to number 13. Number 13, you're going to check those steps. I do not have any distribution, no parentheses. I do happen to have combining like terms. I'm going to check on this side. I got 7x minus 5x, which if you put those guys together, you simply get 2x. You're not going to change the signs, anything along those lines. You just put those together. 2x plus 6 equals 3x plus 16. No more combining like terms. Now we check if we have variables on both sides. I got 2x here. If 3x here, which one's smaller? Well, 2x, so we're gonna move him. We got a positive 2x. So to move him, you're going to take him away from both sides. So you do that inverse operation. You're gonna divide by nothing yet, we're not there. So you're gonna bring down your 6. That's gonna equal x plus 16. Now we're gonna look at our next step, add or subtract the constant. In this case, the constant is positive 16, so you're gonna take that away. Take away 16. Now I start with 6 and I take away 16. So because you're taking away a bigger negative number there, you know your answer is going to be negative. And you simply subtract them at that point, 16 and 6, which gives you 10. So your answer is x equals negative